What the fuck is going on, bro? Nigga, I woke up to some crazy breaking news. Now, I was going through my YouTube comments and shit, and people were like, Steelers traded for Jalen Ramsey. I'm like, nigga, what? Cause like yesterday I saw like a post or something saying like the Steelers were like the at least, you know what I'm saying, landing spot for Jalen Ramsey. I ain't really take it too serious because we've seen shit like that happen before, and then they end up getting traded to that team like DK Metcalf, you know what I'm saying? But I go on the NFL page and I see Jalen Ramsey get traded to the Steelers. And Jonnu Smith and Minkah Fizpatrick are in that trade package. I'm like, what the fuck? So, the Steelers, they give up their best safety and Minkah Fitzpatrick. They get a great third corner in Jalen. Now, Jalen Ramsey, not in his prime no more, but I feel like he's still a pretty good corner. You know what I'm saying? Then they add another talented tight end to pair with Pat Freiermuth. That is crazy. And what's even crazier, Minkah got drafted by the Dolphins a few years ago. But like the Dolphins, they definitely needed a safety after, losing Javon Holland to free agency. But who the fuck gonna be playing free safety for Pittsburgh now? Oh shit. There's no way they go out and sign Justin Simmons. There's just no way. There's no fucking way they do that. But this is an interesting ass trade, bro. I really don't. Oh yeah, and a late round pick was added in this trade as well. But I really don't know who won this trade for real, bro. You know what I'm saying? Cause now Steelers, they got Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, and JPJ in the same cornerback room. God damn, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, Slay was low-key getting fried last year, but I feel like Slay still got some left in the tank. Bro, that cornerback room is not. As a Ravens fan, bro, that cornerback room looking nice. I'm gonna keep it a buck. But then those two tight end sets might be crazy too with Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth. But now Miami got an even bigger problem, bro. They don't have no good corners no more. They don't have no good corners, man. Ramsey gone. I mean, at least they got Minkah, you know what I'm saying, to replace Javon Holland, but they need to go out and sign either Gilmore or Sante Samuel. They need to do something, bro, because that cornerback room is looking
We've got
soft
breaking
right now.
news out of
lie.
the NFL where the Dolphins are trading Jalen Ramsey to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Bro,
That's
this
the latest
is
from
crazy.
our
On a
Jonathan
random
Jones.
ass Monday.
As part of the deal, the all-pro
That is
corner
insane,
will receive
bro.
a $1.5 million raise this upcoming season. Ramsey has spent the past 2 years in Miami, racking up 5 picks and 82 tackles in 2024. After a contract dispute with the Fins, he and general manager Chris Greer mutually agreed to work on trade options back in April.
A few years ago, this trade would have broke the league.
Ramsey is the second big addition the Steelers have made at corner this offseason, along with Super Bowl champion Darius Slay.
It's a crazy ass trade, bro.
We now bring in our lead NFL insider, Jonathan Jones, to talk a little bit more about this trade.
Bro,
and
Zach,
JJ, this was something we expected at some point, but now it happens. What can you tell us?
So the Dolphins, for some reason, decided to give Jalen Ramsey a raise last year after Pat Surtain became the highest paid cornerback in NFL history. Jalen Ramsey had already been that. They had acquired Jalen Ramsey, obviously from the Rams, and then they decided, okay, let's go ahead and pay him on top of that. They didn't need to, and that deal aged poorly. Not because of his play necessarily, but because the team and Jalen Ramsey just kind of stopped seeing eye to eye. That became extremely clear as the season wore on. And then, of course, in the offseason, or rather in spring workouts, when he was given an excused absence from head coach Mike McDaniel, while other Dolphins were not necessarily participating in that deal, or excuse me, in minicamp, Jalen Ramsey was given that excused absence while the Dolphins worked out a potential trade partner. This could have happened perhaps back at the Combine. Could have happened before the draft. No real takers. And now, in the sort of quiet period in the NFL, as folks are all on vacation, they do a deal, the Pittsburgh Steelers with the Miami Dolphins, to get Jalen Ramsey. And I just got a text confirming the news that in return for Jalen Ramsey, the Miami Dolphins are getting Minkah Fizpatrick in return. So this is a player-for-player swap. We rarely see this in the NFL.
Nah,
you see it in baseball. You see it.
What's the late round pick though? Because I didn't look too much into that before I started recording.
In basketball,
what late round
you don't really
pick is
see it in football. But Minkah Fizpatrick,
Probably
who
like a
was
fifth-round
drafted
pick or
by
something.
the Miami Dolphins in 2018 in the first round, then goes to Pittsburgh, had been playing safety for Pittsburgh, now heading back to Miami.
Crazy.
And in this player-for-player swap, Jalen Ramsey now going to play for Mike T and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah,
That is
this is certainly a new situation. It feels like the juices kind of get flowing a little bit more when you have a player-for-player trade.
Bro, I ain't gonna lie, bro.
When you look at
the AFC North been on crack this offseason. Like, real spill, bro. It has been news after news after news with the AFC North. Like, real spill.
this from both sides,
This
can
shit
you
has
see
been insane.
reasons why the Dolphins would want to bring Fitzpatrick back as the trade partner sending away Jalen Ramsey?
So, you know, Minkah, it wasn't necessarily, I don't know if he was a fit for the Dolphins at the time when I believe Brian Flores was the head coach. And so the Dolphins, you know, in having the contract that they had with Jalen Ramsey, they probably weren't going to get a high draft pick for Jalen Ramsey, 30 going on 31 years old.
He's not in his prime anymore.
Everyone was going to look at this and say, oh my gosh, they only got a 5th-round pick, a 4th-round pick for Jalen Ramsey. That doesn't make any sense. And so, but they were able to get a player who, in Minkah Fizpatrick, 28 years old, he'll be 29 halfway through the season, someone who still has plenty of juice. That's a really good acquisition for the Miami Dolphins. Interestingly enough, now you're going to say, well, the Steelers have a hole at safety. Maybe they don't. What if Jalen Ramsey, at 30, going on 31 years old...
You better not say Jalen Ramsey plays safety. I swear if you say that shit.
A Pittsburgh Steelers team that has Darius Slay, that has Joey Porter Jr., that now has a hole at safety. What if they do with Jalen Ramsey what we have seen many elite corners ultimately turn into later in their career, on the back half of their career? And we see Jalen Ramsey play a little safety. Maybe play a
What? Oh my gosh. Like, why do this when you can go out and sign there's still a few good safeties left. You know what I'm saying? So why do that when you could just go out and sign a good safety?
little nickel.
You got
Come from the
Quandre
outside
Diggs,
and come in.
you got
I'm
Julian
sure
Blackman,
that he
you
would
got
still
Justin
remain
Simmons.
on the outside in some
Like,
respects,
bro.
but could we see a package or maybe even the majority of Jalen Ramsey snaps with the Pittsburgh Steelers under Terrell Austin, the defensive coordinator, at safety? Just something to keep an eye on as this news breaks,
I don't know
and we're
about
all
that
trying to
one,
figure out
gang.
what exactly this means for both teams.
Yeah, brand new information that's all coming in right here as we process it right here live in front of everyone. And I know that this is something that we still are trying to figure out the ramifications of it. But JJ, when you look at it from each team, which one do you think has the better side of what they got when you're talking player for player? Because it's so much easier when you're not including draft capital and all those things, and we can just go mano a mano.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt, and it depends on how you're going to use these guys, right? How they're going to fit in schemes and all of those things. But I'll just look at it from the Pittsburgh Steelers perspective, because this has been an offseason unlike anything we really have seen from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Go back to when they went out and got DK Metcalf from the Seattle Seahawks and then paid him the way that they did in $30 million per an average annual salary. That is very unlike the Pittsburgh Steelers, who we know over the past decade plus has drafted wide receivers incredibly well and drafted wide receivers not only in the first round but much later and gotten a lot from them. Then, of course, speaking of the drafted wide receivers, George Pickens, in the final year of his rookie contract, the Pittsburgh Steelers said, yeah, we're good. We'll just go ahead and send you to Dallas. We're tired of the tardiness. We're tired of all of the fines that we have to dock. All of these things. We are just going to attempt to win without the extremely talented George Pickens. And then finally signing Aaron Rodgers, what they had hoped to do the entire offseason, after knowing that Russell Wilson wasn't going to be back, after hoping to potentially keep Justin Fields, but knowing they weren't going to be able to match whatever another team would pay him. And of course, that other team was the New York Jets. And so finally getting Aaron Rodgers, another move that is unlike the Pittsburgh Steelers, and waiting as long as they did before he finally agreed to that one-year contract under $20 million all told. And now getting Jalen Ramsey while sending away Minkah Fizpatrick. I've never seen anything like this with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You've never seen anything like this with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Grandparents haven't seen anything like this with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It is a new day there in the last order of business that the Steelers have, Zach. At this point, well, they have two. They're going to have to get another pass catcher at some point this preseason. They're going to have to ink TJ Watt to a mega contract extension.
They still,
the deals
they still got a lot to do, bro. You know what I'm saying? TJ Watt is got to be the main priority right now for them. You know what I'm saying? Before they go out and sign anybody else, they need to make sure that they re-sign, bro. Like, real spell. I don't care if the nigga 30 or anything. He's still playing at a high level. You know what I'm saying?
For those of you that are just joining us here as we've reached past the 11 o'clock hour, we are talking Jalen Ramsey, who was traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers away from Miami, and in return, Miami getting back Minkah Fizpatrick, something that is a player-for-player trade that we do not see very often. And JJ, you've kind of alluded to all the moves that the Steelers have made. Do they feel desperate? Like, what is the sense that you get? Because, like you said, this is not the way Pittsburgh typically operates.
I mean, look at how their seasons have gone. We don't know about Mike Tomlin, who's never had a losing season in his nearly 2-decade career as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's been a long time since they won a playoff game, though, right? I mean, when you look at the last 5 seasons, you have 4 lost in wild cards, so didn't win a playoff game, and 1 year they did not make the playoffs despite going 9-8. So it's been a very long time for this Pittsburgh Steelers team since they won a playoff game, almost a decade. So if you've been doing things one way, maybe it's time to do things the other way, since it hasn't necessarily worked. They never really figured out post-Ben Roethlisberger years. Even the later Ben Roethlisberger years, of course, did not produce playoff results. And so you get aggressive in free agency. You do things that an organization has never done before. Again, going out and making an outsider, DK Metcalf, the highest paid player on the team. Pittsburgh Steelers don't do that. Waiting and waiting for months on Aaron Rodgers, on the quarterback. You know, you're supposed to be proud to be the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're supposed to run to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Aaron Rodgers didn't do that, right? He just pulled up in a Chevy Malibu, his rental car, and said, I'll talk with you guys later. And then finally, in June, got the playbook. And finally showed up to mandatory minicamp, got a couple of days' work. And you trade away a George Pickens. Well, that's not unlike the Pittsburgh Steelers. We've seen them cut ties with wide receivers maybe a year earlier than a year later. But this is something, again, it's unusual for the league, player for player. But to send another player that you acquired from that team back to that team years later, that's interesting. And then going after Jalen Ramsey, one of the best corners in the modern game, again, very un-Pittsburgh Steelers-like, but it shows that they know that their way has not worked lately. I don't know, and they don't know, if this new way is going to work. They're going to give it a shot in 2025.
Yeah, when you look at this pairing of Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey together, what type of chance does this give them to maybe slow down the tandems that you see in Cincinnati and all those pass catchers for maybe them making that next step and getting that playoff win that they so desperately want?
Yeah, I mean, this is a Pittsburgh Steelers team that we know has been dominated by and led by the defense over the last couple of years. I mean, you just look at it, and they were 8th in points last year, 6th in points allowed the year before that. You know that you have a game wrecker in TJ Watt up front. He's the guy that if you're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers the upcoming Sunday, on Monday, you're already saying, okay, how do we figure out TJ Watt? What are we doing so that he does not completely wreck our offensive game plan? And so then you just work your way out from there. And so, you know, Darius Slay, who obviously showed that he has plenty left in the tank this past season, and then Jalen Ramsey. Again, I don't know that they're going to play them both outside. If Jalen Ramsey, now that they have a hole at safety, there's one of these guys, 30 plus, go to safety all the time, sometime, part of the time, something certainly to be on the lookout for.
Yeah, week 15.
I really don't know about that
Steelers
safety
and
move, bro. Like,
Dolphins.
honestly, they do need, you know, help at safety, but moving Ramsey to safety, I don't know about that. You know what I'm saying? Because who would fit better in the slot out of those three? You know what I'm saying? Out of JPJ, Darius Slay, and Jalen Ramsey. You know what I'm saying? Because they could roll like that. But I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Up and JJ, I know that we are busy talking here right now. I look over at my computer. I'm seeing more buzzing news come in. So not even to throw something onto your plate right here as a shocker, but this is what I'm seeing. Reports coming in right now. You mentioned pass catcher of what the Steelers need. It looks like potentially that the Steelers are trading and getting in Jonnu Smith, the tight end from the Dolphins.
I don't know what the Dolphins doing with that. I'm going to keep it a buck. Jonnu Smith had a good year for them last year. Now they trade him away. Who the fuck is going to be playing tight end for them? Like, honestly, bro, like, he was one of the few bright spots of that Miami team last year. Tyreek Hill was underwhelming. You know what I'm saying? Jalen Waddle was, too. Both of them dealt with injuries. You got Achane and Jonnu Smith, who were the two bright spots for that offense last year. You know what I'm saying? Along with Tua being hurt, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So why the fuck are they trading him away? I understand he's getting up there in age, but why not keep him, you know what I'm saying, for this year, and then you draft a tight end next year? You know what I'm saying? They could have drafted a tight end this past year.
You were just alluding
this
to
a crazy talented tight end class.
Yeah, exactly. There were two orders of business left for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was getting another pass catcher. It's extending T.J. Watt.
I mean, hey, you can line Jonnu Smith at receiver,
$40 million in average annual salary. That's
he basically
the
just a big body receiver for real.
That's going to have to figure itself out at some point over the next month. Jonnu Smith, you know, the Pittsburgh Steelers have had their eye on him for some time. He had said he wanted to stay in Miami, hoped to work out a deal with Miami. He signed a 2-year deal last year, played a hell of a year this past season, and frankly was probably underpaid. Well, the Miami Dolphins said, not entirely sure about that. And so the Pittsburgh Steelers were poking around both for a wide receiver, too, knowing that they had jettisoned George Pickens, but also maybe another tight end. We know they have Pat Freiermuth. They love Pat Freiermuth, but they needed somebody else to catch a pass out there, right? And so what we have been reporting for more than a month now was that they were going to get a pass catcher, never specifying whether it was a wide receiver or a tight end. And now we know it's going to be Jonnu Smith rejoining Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator there with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And so they will be joining forces again. Jonnu Smith coming off an incredible year. The Pittsburgh Steelers getting another pass catcher, something that they desperately needed. And so now when you look at their depth chart, you say, well, this is a formidable depth chart. This is a team that, look, you got to believe in Aaron Rodgers, right? If you think that they are going to...
No. Not after watching last year. You know what I'm saying? This nigga is 41, 42 years old, bro. You cannot have faith in bro. Real spill. Like, he's not nearly as mobile as he used to be. You know what I'm saying? Now, the stats, they weren't that bad last year. QBR, dog shit. You know what I'm saying? The QBR was so bad last year. Now, it was the Jets. You know what I'm saying? I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But you are a future first ballot Hall of Famer, gang. You're reaching the tail end of your career. And I think this might be his last season. I think he said this will be his last season, if I'm not mistaken, on the Pat McAfee show. So you better make this a great season, gang. Do not go out sad like how Tom Brady did with losing to Dallas in the playoffs, bro. You know what I'm saying? So you better end it off with a bang.
You only think that because you believe that Aaron Rodgers still has some stuff left, right? And I will say that in the second half of last year, he seemed to be getting healthier from the Achilles, right? There was a lot of bad around him with the New York Jets, and he was not particularly good at points. But I do believe that a reasonable person can believe that Aaron Rodgers can still deliver at 41 years old. And so now that he continues to be surrounded by talent,
he got to play in the AFC
and
North
now. A defense that is certainly going to lead the way, that is certainly going to dominate, makes things a whole lot easier for Aaron Rodgers and these Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, live TV not making the job too easy for us right here, JJ, because it appears that it is all just one trade, a combo of Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith heading over to Pittsburgh in exchange for Minkah Fizpatrick. And I know that you've been talking to us here right now, so you haven't even been able to work the phones and everything like you normally would. So I don't even want to ask you too much because that'll put you in a spot where it's like, hey, you can't do your due diligence. So I'll just say one last thing to you right here. As we sit here, the end of June, a trade like this before training camp, how seismic of a move is this?
It's a big move. It's certainly something that had been considered by both sides for some time. Again, Jalen Ramsey and the Dolphins, they knew at Combine, so that's late February, that they weren't going to be partners anymore. The Rams were high up on the list. Sean McVay wasn't shy.
So why didn't the Dolphins draft a cornerback, bro? Like I'm so blessed to be a Ravens fan because our front office is so amazing. And then I just look at other teams, and they know damn well that they were not going to re-sign Jalen Ramsey. Why the fuck would y'all not draft a corner in a talented cornerback class? Why would y'all not draft a corner? Like, Will Johnson was right there in the first round. Now, I understand injury concerns, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I get that. He was right there. You had Jahdae Barron, you know what I'm saying? And then even in later rounds, bro, you could have drafted a guy like Denzel Burke. You know what I'm saying? There were some good corners in there. Y'all still did not draft one.
About talking about how much you loved Jalen Ramsey. But they never seemed to be in a huge rush to acquire Jalen Ramsey. And so those conversations between Chris Grier, the GM of the Dolphins, and Omar Khan surely have been going on for some time. We've known that Pittsburgh has had some interest in Jonnu Smith for some time. But, you know, sometimes deadlines spur action, sometimes they don't. Because these aren't real deadlines. Exactly. Like, we get to minicamp, you and I come on here and we say, oh, what's going to happen? Well, nothing has to
good
happen.
QB play last year, bro. He would have had it now.
People reported to mandatory minicamp. Nothing had to happen before they broke for summer. And deals can always get done at any point. People can be vacationing in Cabo. I bet you, of these three men, one of them is in Cabo right now.
Oh,
and
shit. So the Steelers gave up a 7th round pick. And it was okay, so it was a 5th round pick. I know I want to, but I had a feeling it was gonna be a 5th round pick. But damn, that's in 2027. Damn. Okay. I mean, like, looking at it like this, I still don't know who won this trade for real. Because the fact that both of them gave up key pieces. You know what I'm saying? They secondary with you know what I'm saying, Steelers needing a safety now. Dolphins already needed a corner to begin with, so them giving up Ramsey is crazy. I ain't gonna lie. I feel like Pittsburgh won this trade for sure. Cause Dolphins, they don't have no more good corners. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're gonna rely on Cam Smith to ball out. You know what I'm saying? They gave up Jonnu Smith. Now they don't have a good tight end. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, I think Pittsburgh definitely did win this trade. But like, I don't know, bro. It's gonna be very interesting to see how this turns out. You know what I'm saying? It depends on how good Minkah, Ramsey, and Jonnu play this year. You know what I'm saying? But this could be an interesting trade down the line.
Yeah. So these things can take place at any point. I would say personally, I'm very happy it did not happen later in the week, as we all are celebrating America's birthday. I'm happy that it happened today on this beautiful Monday morning.
Random man Monday,
we continue to learn more about this very unusual, but let me just say, pretty awesome deal. I'm really happy that a deal like this happened in the NFL because we just don't see it. When we have those graphics up,
we needed something.
We usually have NBA teams.
Off-season, right? Died down.
You usually don't see NFL teams with those logos and player and draft pick. You never see that in the NFL. But these two GMs, Chris Grier and Omar Khan, putting their heads together, saying, out with the old, in with the new. I want these guys. You may not want this one guy. You want this other guy. Let's work it out. Let's figure it out. And so they have, I'm very happy about this in the NFL. Maybe we are turning a page where it's not just player for draft pick compensation. Maybe it's not just a salary dump. Maybe we can enter into this brave new beautiful world where we go player for player.
Yeah, JJ, I think that makes things fun. It makes things interesting, and it allows us to have a whole lot of conversations that I would say are probably just now beginning, because as this dust settles from the trade, you have the opportunity to do all your due diligence. I will not be shocked if we see you a little bit later down the road. Jonathan Jones, our lead NFL insider, thank you so much, and taking a look once again at the reported trade that.
What do you guys think, bro? Like, I want to know how y'all Steelers fans think about this, bro. You know what I'm saying? Do y'all fuck with this trade? Do y'all not like it because y'all have to give up Minkah? You know what I'm saying? My you know what I'm saying, aspect from this, I feel like y'all definitely did win this trade. You know what I'm saying? On paper, it looks like y'all won this trade. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got another good corner. Y'all need it for real. Cause I don't know how to feel about Beanie Bishop. You know what I'm saying? You get a instant starter, a veteran cornerback to pair with Ramsey and JPJ, and they can help mentor him as well. So that's another big plus. But y'all do have a weakness at safety, so y'all better go solve that in free agency. There's still some pretty good safeties out there. Jonnu Smith being a part of the team now. I kind of like this for y'all. You know what I'm saying? Cause y'all, like they said, y'all do need another pass catcher. You know what I'm saying? Cause DK not gonna be able to do it all himself. You gonna need Calvin Austin to step up, maybe Roman Wilson. But I feel like you can really move Jonnu Smith around. You know what I'm saying? Different packages and stuff like that. I feel like he can play on the outside, he can play in the slot. You know what I'm saying? Traditional tight end role. You know what I'm saying? Right next to Pat Freiermuth. It's gonna be very interesting to see how Arthur Smith uses him. You know what I'm saying? But as for the Dolphins, giving up another corner when y'all already had a weakness is crazy though, bro. Like I don't like that they did that. I'm not gonna lie. Now getting Minkah back, you know what I'm saying, after losing Javon Holland, cool. You know what I'm saying? You solved that problem. But just they don't have another corner, bro. Like I don't understand what the Dolphins doing. I'm gonna keep it a buck, bro. This is why teams are not gonna be terrified of Miami. Like, of course, they got speed on offense. But when you look at their defense, like, bro, that's easy barbecue chicken, bro. Josh Allen is about to fuck them up twice a year. Like, real, but he's about to throw, like, 300, 400 yards on that secondary twice a year, bro. Like, come on, gang. Y'all can't be doing that, bro. You know what I'm saying? But, hey, man, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this trade. Y'all let me know what other NFL videos I'm to react to. Without further ado, I'm out.
I'm chosen. I'ma make them feel me. Make them people when they chow me. And if you don't know me, I'ma make sure that you know me. I hate to say it, but I really think I'm broke. But I know I'm chosen. I really know I'm chosen. I know I'm chosen. I was just lost a year ago, but now I'm focused. When good at sports, this microphone can be my trophy. Not taking drugs, I found a better way of coping.